Welcome to the Mentors and Moguls podcast, your source for the inside scoop from some of the world's most accomplished business leaders, athletes, and creatives on how they've achieved success. I'm Heather Stone, a serial entrepreneur with a passion for helping others to overcome challenges and discover their untapped potential. Join me and our guests as we teach you how to break through those barriers on the way to crushing your goals. In each episode, I dive into a new topic with an inspiring mentor to find out exactly how they overcame obstacles, slayed self-doubt, and achieved their goals. Today's expert mentoring session is about to start, so grab your pen and let's dive in. Have you ever sat down to watch the nightly news and wondered how that shining face on your screen got to be in that position? Better yet, have you ever wanted to be a nightly news anchor? Today's guest happens to be a weeknight anchor, and she's going to share her secret tips and pathway to her success so you can follow in her footsteps. Shelby Bracho is a rising star on the network news scene. She is pursuing her big dreams of making her mark in network news. So welcome, Shelby. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
This is terrific. Thanks for stepping away from the news desk to share a little bit about your path with us. So I would like to jump right in. Let's take you back to your childhood, believe it or not. I want to know if there were shades of you wanting to be a news anchor from day one. Were you always the life of the party, the personality? Were you curious? Were you asking stories or putting on plays? What was your personality like in the very beginning?
I would say probably the thing that stood out the most in terms of my career now and looking back, and my mom will always say this, is she could never lie to me. I was not one of those kids that could, sit in the car while my mom had a conversation and not, I guess eavesdrop is what it really was. But you couldn't lie to me. I was very much, my mom was always honest with me, my parents really. But I was just one of those kids that I wasn't going to buy into whatever, dismissive story you wanted to tell me. And my mom gave up really quick doing that. She was always just, kept it real, I guess. And I think that was a big thing. But the funny thing is I was actually a really shy kid. I was not super outgoing. I was very polite. My parents kept me and my brother very busy and active all the time, in summer camps and after school programs. And so I think I was pretty well socialized, but I was more quiet, and I was always like the kid that parents would come up to my parents and say, how do you get her to behave so well? And can our kids hang out? And I definitely grew out of that after high school, I think. And growing up in Newport, there's a lot going on all the time. And I think I was very observant, and I sat back and I watched a lot of things, and I tried to understand a lot of things, and I didn't miss a lot. So I think that's kind of what came out in me. But I was also a kind of a child actor. I worked on television shows, mostly background work, and I did a lot of acting classes and stuff like that. So I think that helped me get really comfortable in front of the camera. And I think it also gave me a tough skin as a kid that I definitely am thankful for now, being on television and especially the news. I mean, anything can happen. A lot of it's live. So people, share their opinions with us a lot, and my outfits are sometimes criticized. But going through those things as a kid definitely has all helped me prepare to be where I am. But yeah, I would say I was super observant and quiet, actually. Which is funny.
You've definitely broken out of your shell. You're terrific at your job.
Oh, thank you.
Was there any one event or a person that influenced your decision to pursue a career in the TV news as an anchor? What attracted you on this career path particularly?
It's funny. I was actually kind of pushed into it a few times by different people. In high school, I had an SAT tutor who was kind of like a college counselor as well. And she was very like, I could so see you doing that. Just your personality and, your experiences on television. I think you'd be great at that. And I just was so opposed to it. I was like, no, I don't want to be a news reporter. And then I had some friends too. I'm really into sports, and I had a lot of friends that would tell me, I could so see you working on ESPN or whatever. My family's big into sports, so it made sense. And I kind of liked the idea, but again, wasn't completely sold on it. I had graduated from high school. I went to OCC for a while, and then I moved up to LA and went to Santa Monica College for a while, and still was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. That was my main thing. And I would call my dad and have, I mean, as close to an anxiety attack as you can imagine. Just, Dad, I don't know what I want to do with my life, you know. And I was a business major. I was in accounting classes, and then I tried to enroll in this photography class. And I ended up not being able to get into the class, and I needed more credits. So I enrolled in a media class and didn't really think much of it, but something about it was it was fun. And I still remember that professor's name. His name was Ron Brewington. And he, came into class and kind of gave us this speech about, if you want to be in this industry, you can't, be attached to your hair or your teeth or anything really about your appearance, because anyone could change it at any time. And that was something I was used to hearing growing up working in TV, And then as the class went on through the semester, I fell in love with it slowly, like every part of it. We brought cameras into class and we recorded things in class, and we would write stories, and we would do round table discussions like you would see, I guess, on ESPN about whatever topics. And I fell in love with it, and I realized I was really good at it. And that same professor actually had previously worked for American Urban Radio Networks with Tanya Hart. And one day he came to class and put her email up on the board and said, I have a friend in the industry that's looking for an intern. Anyone who's interested, you send her an email. And I think half the class sent an email in, and I was one of those people. And I ended up working for her and interning for her for 4-5 years. And she's still like I would say my biggest mentor. And so that class really pushed me to take more media classes afterwards. And then I ended up enrolling at California State University, Northridge in the journalism program, while simultaneously working for Tanya Hart, who I actually met through that class as well. So that one class that I didn't want to take and kind of took as just, to fill some credits, ended up really pushing me into this whole career that I had kind of been avoiding before. So it's just interesting how it all came together, and how it all ended up working out.
Well, that is a really good point that you just made. So you had no intention of becoming a news anchor. You had no intention of pursuing a career in reporting. Out of necessity, you took a class. And the only reason I'm stating the obvious is this is a critical time for people saying, I just got the rug pulled out from underneath me. I have to pivot. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So the number one thing I'm getting out of it is go for it and just try. Put yourself out there and just try. You put yourself out there to go after an internship, you got it. You put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, and it led to something wonderful. Would you encourage others to do the same thing?
Absolutely. I think that, especially with signs, if you have this opportunity put in front of you, take advantage of that, especially right now when a lot of people, I think, are feeling lost and are maybe stuck at home or out of the job. Take an online class. So many places are offering things like that, and just go for it. Even if you end up hating it, at least you've checked that box and exactly where you don't want to go or what you don't want to do, and I really thought that's what was going to happen, but it did not. I was wrong. And I think a lot of people sometimes you just got to go with the opportunities that come your way, and they'll take you places that you never expected.
Well, being in front of the camera, especially in the network news business, I know this typically is a very competitive and intimidating field to enter and to master. Did you ever consider how challenging it might be?
Yes, I think it's a very fast-paced industry. And I think definitely in school, my professors at Cal State Northridge were super honest with all the students about, this is a 24-hour business and news doesn't stop, and people are going to be critical, and people are going to be competitive, which is very, very real. And I think that it was definitely something that I thought of, but I think it was more a challenge I was willing to accept. And I was really kind of excited to take on. I do think that there are things about this industry that I wasn't prepared for. And it sounds silly looking back at it now, but when I was going through school, I never thought about how my personal life would be affected by this job. And I don't mean like the late nights. I think that's a little bit, expected, but just going to the grocery store. I live in like kind of a small town, and I think a lot of people watch the news. I guess it depends on the demographic, but a lot of people watch the news, and just going to the grocery store. I tend now to go at night, and I tend to not go out as much, I guess. So, and it's because it's weird for me. Like I said, I'm kind of a shy person, even though I have a personality when I'm in public. It's very weird to me to have people come up to me. So that was one thing I didn't think about when I was in school. But the other challenges I think are more exciting. And I think they can be rough, but I think that the news industry is very much like a family as well. And so, you're all really working towards the same goal. And that really is to inform people. And it can be hard. It can be really draining, and it can be hard. But like I said, everyone's a family. So those are the challenges that I think are expected and make you a better reporter and news anchor.
So what would you say your overall mindset would be that helped you push through some of those difficult days?
There's a lot. I think really it's important to trust yourself and to trust that you know what you're doing. And it's important to not let the noise get to you, to not worry so much about the response. Not that that's not important, but focusing and doing your job when it's so much pressure and there's such a strict deadline, it's really important to be able to block out that noise and to just stick to the facts. And I think that in this industry, on days when it gets hard, or when you're covering things that are super controversial, or you're at an event and people are yelling in your face, or scary things are happening and people are calling the news station to find out what's going on, it's important to like remain calm and focus on what you can do and what you do know. And yeah, I think blocking out that noise is really important. I know a lot of people in this industry get ripped apart, on a personal level by people that they don't know, whether it's on Facebook or people sending in emails. And that's honestly one of the hardest things. I also have a coworker who just last week went to some rally here, something to do with COVID and people wanting to, the businesses to open back up and things. And I mean, we had to call our news director out to go with her because people were so just physically threatening her,
Wow.
and it's that can be really, really hard. But it's all part of the job, and it's part of the times too, I think. And I think just staying strong and, remembering why you're doing this and helping people and telling their stories. I think that's like the core of news.
So do you have a specific message? Do you have a specific mission why you would like to pursue a career? Meaning, I'd like to deliver the news to be X in this industry. Is there anything like that driving you behind the stories?
I think that I have, over the last 2 years since I've really taken a dive into this industry, I think that I've learned that my biggest goal is to share people's stories in a way that connects us. I think that a lot of us, we're more similar than we are. We're more alike than we are different. Yes, we're more similar than we are different. And I think when I'm able, my favorite thing is to do interviews. So when I'm able to sit down with someone and talk to them in a way that allows them to open up and really share the things about them that are human. And when I'm able to take those pieces that they've given me and put it together in a story or just a soundbite and put it on television for the, 100,000, 200,000 people that are watching our broadcasts, and they call in or they email and they say, how can I help? And they want to donate to a cause, and they want to help a family, and they want to, find out how they can support a business. It provides so much relief and so much help to people. And even if it's just emotional comfort, it connects people, it connects them all. And whether that's for me, I've learned that whether that's on a news channel or down the line, it's, hosting a talk show and being able to have people come on a show and talk about whatever it is that makes them human. That's what I love. That's what I love. I love sharing that aspect of people. And I mean, information is important as well. And and breaking news is exciting. And it's a huge responsibility to go out onto a police scene, for example, and be the person on scene relaying that information to the public. And that's a really satisfying, rewarding job. But I think my favorite part is definitely, like I said, that human connection and making everyone kind of feel like, we're all in this together.
I think that is important since we're inviting you into our living rooms every single night. I think it's very important to have that angle, and I'm glad that you do.
Oh, thanks.
So there are so many things I want to talk about in that last comment. First, let's talk about what is a day in the life of a young reporter like? Can you share what a typical day might be for you?
There is no typical day. and going really quickly back to my childhood, I will say my parents were the type of parents that there were no rules in terms of what I could and couldn't do. If I wanted to take ballet, I could take ballet. If I wanted to, take piano lessons, guitar lessons, if I wanted to go to an art class, my parents were totally down for whatever I wanted to do. The only rule was whatever I started, I had to finish. And, growing up, I loved everything that I surfed. I played soccer. I was at an all boys baseball camp and football camp. I was a total tomboy, but at the same time, I loved acting classes. I loved art. I took ballet. I taught myself guitar. I played piano for a little bit. I was all over the place. And it was really frustrating going to school, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It goes back into that whole, I don't know what I want to do because I have all these things that I've done but now, looking back, I'm so grateful that my parents put me through everything that they put me through or let me do whatever I wanted, because now I never know what I'm going to run into at work. The daily life of a reporter, I could be, at a meat packing company tomorrow doing an interview in mud. And the next day I could be up in a hot air balloon in northern Colorado, which has happened. And so it's literally the typical day. I mean, and it's funny, the other day I was thinking about this same thing. What if someone was following me around all day, documenting what I was doing? Because I went from, a restaurant that's shutting down because they can't afford to stay open to a construction site where I have a hard hat on and a vest on, and I'm, in the middle of all these big machines taking video. So it really, I've also been attacked by a police dog with a full with a full suit of armor on.
Oh,
and
wow.
So there's just all kinds of things you can do. And that's what's so exciting, is that if you're the type of person, if you're like me and you don't want to be stuck in an office all day, reporting is the job for you. But just know it is a lot, and there's a lot of different things you're going to be able to do, and you have to be able to roll with the punches. But the typical day, you could be doing anything. Now, anchoring is a little different. You definitely, will be in studio, and you kind of know where you're at, and you know how you have to dress, and you need to be prepared. But things can happen. I mean, I've been on the desk where, breaking news comes down, and I'm reading off my phone what the police chief just said, and his assistant is texting me, and I'm literally reading it live on air. And so those things happen. And that can be really hard. Switching, from reading a script on television, being that person in everyone's living rooms, and trying to relay information to them in a calm but factual way. And then all of a sudden switching into, we have something coming down right now. I've also, covered a fire from the desk at midnight on a Friday and we had to cut into whatever late night show was on because a huge fire broke out. So and that was, I was on my way out the door when that happened. And so it's just, anything can happen, and it's exciting. It's really fun, but you really do have this very serious weight on your shoulders, because you have an important job to make sure you're delivering people with facts and not, scanner traffic. But
well, it sounds like you have to be very good at multitasking. I hear you have to be very calm and roll with it and act calm and natural. So let's go to the funny side. What is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you, either behind the desk or out in the field? Can you think of
Oh
anything?
my goodness. I definitely I had the power go out on me once while I was anchoring,
Oh,
but we stayed on air. We stayed on air, so the lights went out and our generator kicked in, and the generator kept the camera rolling, and it kept the TV screen that was next to me with our like the Fox logo.
mm-hmm.
It kept that on, so all you could see was just black, and you could see the Fox logo. And I just kept reading the teleprompter, and that was pretty funny. I'm trying to think what else has happened to me.
What was that like when the police dog attacked you?
Oh my goodness.
Were you
It was,
scared?
no, it's funny. I should have been scared, but I love dogs, and
Yeah, but not when they're
specifically
coming at you with teeth ablazing.
no, it's true. I love dogs though, and I love German Shepherds. And this was a German Shepherd mix, but we had spent the whole day with this dog going around, and he was, doing, routine little fake drug bust drills in this empty house we were at. And I got to put on the suit. Now, I will say, we watched the dog attack one of the officers in the suit prior to me doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and the dog got a full running start at her. And so she was down the field, and she's running away, and he takes off and tackles her to the ground. Basically, that was scary. Watching
Yeah.
that happen was very scary. But when they did it to me, they put me in the suit, and they walked the dog up to me, and but it was, I mean, I will tell you, it was not a joke. He did not come to play. His name was Marlin, and he definitely took me to the ground. And what was scary was when we stopped, they pulled the dog, the dog was on a leash. They pulled the dog off, and I kind of fell to the ground out of just exhaustion because I had been wrestling with this dog, and the dog lunged back at my face.
Oh.
because when you're in that suit, they I don't know how that works. They don't recognize you as they recognize you as a criminal. So it was just so interesting, but they caught him before he got to my face.
Okay, so not so cute and cuddly when they come at your face, but okay, you like German Shepherds.
No.
That's good. Well, how did you end up in Colorado? Did you hope to go there next, or tell me the path of trying to make your way up through the ranks to become a reporter at the anchor desk?
Yeah. So when you're in school, they tell you your first job, you got to be willing to go anywhere. And I was really hoping I avoided a couple of places, but I was really totally open to going anywhere in the United States. And I had been applying for jobs. I had been putting my resume, my reel together, and my reel was on YouTube. And so people were already viewing it. And I had gotten an email. I graduated December, and it was February. And I got an email from a news director in Colorado basically saying that he had seen my reel on YouTube and that he really liked my stuff. And he was wondering if I would be interested in an anchor job in Grand Junction, Colorado. Big ups to Jeff Roth for giving me that opportunity. He really liked me because, I mean, he gave me all the job information in that first email up front. And when we were going back and forth, it was just a lot of, technical questions and making sure that I was prepared and making sure that I knew what I was doing in terms of producing and reporting and other aspects of the job, other than just the on-camera stuff. And yeah, it just worked out. And I liked the fact Colorado was not on my I won't go there list, which only probably had 2 places on it. But yeah, and it was close to home, and I've heard a lot of good things about this state. I had a couple friends that came out here to go to Boulder, and so I had never heard of Grand Junction before, but I definitely was open to coming here, and I think it was the right decision, and I'm super grateful that it was offered to me. But I will say, for anyone who's in school or who's thinking about getting into this industry, your reel is the number one most important thing that represents you. So, whether or not you have gotten your journalism degree or you didn't, that reel is going to be the most important thing. I don't think that you necessarily need that degree to get into this industry. I think that if you put yourself out there and you get yourself online, like I said, my reel was just on YouTube. I had no website at the time. People can see that and they'll recognize that hard work, and what you've put in. And also, if you are in school, take advantage. That was the number one thing that I did when I was going to Cal State Northridge for journalism school. I used that studio, I used those cameras, and I put together something that I was super proud of. And I have not heard of anyone else that got a job without applying. So big advice from me in terms of school is put together a really good reel that you're proud of. That's the number one thing that is going to get you a job going forward.
Good advice. How did you feel? You got to Colorado and you sat down. It was your first time sitting down, going live on the air behind the anchor desk. Describe that feeling.
Oh my gosh.
Behind the camera. What was it like?
First of all, sweaty. I was sweating so much, which is so gross, but I was so nervous. And the thing about me with nerves is, and this is not great for this industry, but you can hear my nerves in my voice, and you could hear the nerves. And I look like I have that clip actually, and I look like a deer in headlights. It was a mess, but I got through it, and it was it was worse than anything I did in college because I was so nervous. I had never been on airwaves live like that. In school, we had filmed a weekly news show, but it was pre-recorded. We didn't air it live, and that was, it was crazy. I looked at my boss like, "Are you sure you just picked me up off the internet? You sure you're going to put me on television in front of everybody?" But no, it worked out. And I'm still in contact with my boss from that time. And I make jokes all the time about how I really thought I thought every day, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired," because I just, I wasn't a pro, but he understood. He knew that everyone he was hiring for the most part was straight out of school. But that day, yeah, it was rough. I was, my makeup was It was first time doing real on-air makeup. My hair was lots of curls and it was really long. And oh gosh, I just remember my look at the camera. I'm looking there and you could tell that I'm reading and I looked a mess. I was just so nervous, especially when you get in front of those lights, under those lights and in front of the camera. It's scary. And that's why I work so hard too when I'm interviewing people to make them feel comfortable in front of the camera. I understand that feeling. It's a really scary, intimidating feeling to be looking into that lens and to be, having lights in your eyes, and it's scary. So I've come a long way since then. I should probably send you that clip.
I would love to see that clip. Well, everyone, we have to start somewhere. Nobody just jumps the first day into a job and says, "Here, I'm here," and I perfect it. That's no fun.
It's true. And that's why I encourage everyone to start, just take that class, start filming yourself. And I promise you'll get better. I mean, within my first 6 months, I didn't think I had gotten that much better. I had gotten more comfortable, but when I actually sat down and watched the stuff that I had from that first week versus the things I was doing at 6 months, it was a world of difference. And even now, looking back at that 6-month mark, I'm like, "Oof, girl, no."
You're growing. You're growing.
Exactly, growing, and that's what it's all about.
Do you think that this process in the world of reporters and anchors and behind the scenes in the newsroom, is it different for women than men, or is the process pretty much the same for everybody?
No, I would say it's different. I mean, we're still in the same boat and we still have the same type of responsibility on our shoulders. But I will say that as a woman, you are much more criticized based on your appearance. But I think that's across the board. I think that's in a lot of industries. But I mean, TV, I've heard it before, and in this industry, your appearance counts for something. It does matter, and it is not the most popular thing to say. But I mean, I've been told by my superiors, "Hey, fix your hair, fix your makeup, go get some new clothes." And that's okay. I mean, I think I usually know before they do what I need to fix. But shout out my mom for keeping me super aware of those things growing up. And like I said, my experience in the television industry as a kid was definitely very similar. So I think I'm used to it, and I think I might have had a head start on things like that compared to some of the people I work with or people from other places that are fresh out of school as well. But I know I can say right now, my coworkers, some of them have had some very serious talks with management about those things. And a lot of us have gotten a lot of feedback from the community. And that for a lot of people can be really hard. We've had people call in. This hasn't happened to me personally, but we've had people call in and say, so-and-so isn't wearing enough makeup today, or she needs to put on some blush, or she needs to do her hair, or she needs to, that outfit is inappropriate for TV, or, I mean, it's really endless. And like I said, going back to my biggest takeaway is you cannot, at the end of the day, care what people think. You just have to do your best and be proud of yourself, I think. But for women and for men, yes, there are definitely double standards. And I will say as well, I've seen, I don't know anyone personally, but I've seen at other stations, men have done stories on things like that, where they've gone for a week, a month, or even a year wearing the same suit. And they just change their tie, and then they go back and they put a story together on it and say, hey, we get a lot of calls about our female anchors and reporters, and I just want to say that I've been wearing the same suit for the last month and no one's called in once. Mm-hmm. Whereas we'll get calls, if I wear the same dress 2 times in the same month, it hasn't happened to me, but it's happened to my coworkers where, hey, you wore that last week. Why are you wearing that again? And I just think that's so funny that people pay that close attention, but they do. And I think women are definitely under a magnifying glass when it comes to our appearance, when you compare it to what the men have to deal with, for sure.
Interesting. So for your on-air outfits, you don't repeat, God forbid, in a week or in 2 weeks? Is there any kind of system you have in your closet that says, all right, you wore that 3 days ago, don't pull it out at the last minute? Do you go that far?
I think that at a bigger market, to be honest, I would. Right now, I'm about 2 years and 2 months into this job, and I have definitely acquired a wide range of dresses, on-air dresses that are only work dresses. I use Poshmark a lot, and TJ Maxx and Ross. But I have so many clothes. I wouldn't say that I necessarily will plan my outfits out, but it's by memory. I definitely will say, oh, if I wore blue yesterday, I'm not going to wear something else that's blue today, and it has to be something different. And then, the rotation, like my goal was to get 30 dresses so that I could not repeat a dress over the course of a month. And that's not an uncommon goal. That's a very small, I mean, I know my roommate and I, actually, she's does the weather at our station, and we fit the same size. So we definitely lucked out there where we can trade dresses, and we wear a lot of the same stuff and share with each other. But I have acquired a lot. And then reporting too, it's a little bit harder with reporting because your outfit not only has to be appropriate for the news, but it has to be appropriate for whatever you're doing that day.
Right.
And so if I'm out on the highway, and it's snowing, I need to be wrapped up and bundled up. But if I'm, scaling the side of a mountain, which happened as well, I need to be in tennis shoes and some leggings. So it really just depends what I'm doing that day. And tennis shoes are my friend. Definitely, with whatever. I wear dresses and tennis shoes a lot. So
good for you.
So yeah.
Good for you. What would you say to someone who is hoping to get into the field? Maybe they're in school, maybe they're out of school, and they're saying, guess what? My job that I thought was going to be secure for the next 3 to 4 years is now gone due to this COVID. Where should they start? What should they do first if they want to test the waters?
Put a reel together.
Okay.
Put a video reel together, get it online, share it on LinkedIn, get your LinkedIn page up, get your Facebook page, your Twitter page up, share everything. LinkedIn is great for connecting with people, news directors. I mean, you can search by company, you can search by station, and they will give you the names of the people that work there. I mean, I can't find names of news directors on station websites, but I can find them on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a super great resource. I had a colleague who used to work here with me at this station. She now works in North Carolina, and she got her job because she was just posting on LinkedIn, asking for feedback, saying, "Hey, can anyone tell me, if you think I'm ready for my next market?" And a news director said, "I think you're ready," and offered her a job.
Wow.
So LinkedIn is a great tool. And then TV Jobs is a website, tvjobs.com. Great website. It is a subscription website, but I think it's $50 for the year, and it's a great organized one place for everything type of site where all jobs are posted in this industry. So that's a great resource. Like I said, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, I don't know how it works, but it notifies me when companies that I follow post jobs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So get on there, follow all the companies, the media companies. There's quite a few, but there's a couple major ones: Nexstar, Scripps, Sinclair, Meredith Broadcasting. Go on there, follow all those pages, and get to work, make connections. It's really that easy. But getting your face out there and getting your reel online is, like I said, they're not even going to think about hiring you until they've seen that and they like what they see.
Perfect. Great advice for everyone.
Yeah.
What is the most rewarding part so far about your job?
Definitely helping people in the community, sharing their stories, but also feeling like I'm a part of that community. I came here, like I said, to Grand Junction, Colorado, never having heard of this place before. And I have never felt so welcomed in a community. I show up to all these events, and I put a camera in people's faces and I ask them questions, and people are so happy and willing to talk to me most of the time. And that's super nice. And I mean that, everywhere I go, people, "Hey, I see you," and "Hey, you should come try this." And "Hey, I'm happy to talk to you." And "Yeah, you can film this." And people are just so nice. So that's really rewarding on a personal level for me. I feel very welcomed. But what makes me feel really good, and what makes me feel like my job gives me purpose, is telling people stories. And like I said, just being a part of that human connection. I was able to do a story recently when this whole COVID thing started. A local church the women at the church decided to start making masks for the hospital. And I did this story on all of these women who lived, across the valley in this area that I'm in right now. And it was right at the beginning of COVID. So it was like, how do we get all these people together to make these masks without actually gathering, which 2 months ago was a really weird concept. Now it's more normal, but they had this whole distribution set up where they distributed fabrics from the hospital, medical fabrics, to all of these seamstresses throughout the valley, all ages. And they were putting together these masks, and then, people were coming by and picking them up and giving them back to the hospital to be sanitized and used for the workers. And I did that story, and I have never had so many people call in and say, "Hey, I want to help. Hey, I want to make these masks." Thousands. I mean, it had to be over 20,000 masks were made by the end of that week by all these people. And just seeing everyone call in and want to help, and emailing me or messaging me on my Facebook page and saying, "Hey, Shelby, I saw the story you did. How can I help? How can I get in contact?" That's the most rewarding thing for me, because if I wouldn't have put that together, those women would have still made probably hundreds and thousands of masks. But seeing the community come together, especially in a time like this pandemic right now, it's so rewarding to feel like I played a part in that, even if it was such a small part, and I made some masks. I took home a couple masks and made them. I have a sewing machine, and that was cool too. But really seeing how many people were contacting me just because they wanted to help, and because they saw my story on the TV, it's an incredible feeling.
Well, you're playing your part as a connector, and you're also making a huge impact just by giving a megaphone to causes that are very important. So I think that's terrific.
Yeah, that's definitely, you said it right. Shining that spotlight on certain issues and certain people and being able to watch what happens after I do that is just really, really rewarding.
Well, I think that is a perfect segue into the spotlight that we're shining on you today. I can't wait to see where you are in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Where can people follow you? Where can people find you and find out what's next for Shelby?
Well, people can follow me on social media. My is at Shelby on the mic. And yeah, follow me. I'm currently looking for my next market, my next city. My contract here in Grand Junction was up in March, and that was right in the middle of this pandemic. And so the job search has been super interesting for me right now. But I'm actually really looking to go to Vegas next. That would be my next goal. And I think eventually I'd like to make it back home to LA. And then who knows, maybe I'll go national. Maybe I'd like to do that. Maybe, like I said, I really like sharing stories. So talk show host, that's I think my long-term dream right now. But yeah, so follow me and see what I'm up to. And if anyone has any questions, if anyone's interested in becoming, a news anchor or a reporter or getting into this industry, even as a producer, I'm happy always to share information and, give any advice that I can. I've gotten so much of that from other people in this industry, and I am so happy to share information always. So please reach out to me. And also, thank you so much, Heather. This has been really, really fun to talk about all these things and to think about where, my journey, I guess.
Well, it's been very fun. And just to follow up, if anyone wants to get in touch with her, you can definitely go to mentorsandmogulspodcast.com. We'll have all the transcripts and obviously the connections and links, how you can contact her, and we'll put you in touch. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Can't wait to see what you're up to in about 6 months from now. I think big things are on the horizon for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun, and I really love what you're doing with this podcast.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. That's our episode for today. That's all for this week. Thank you for listening to the Mentors and Moguls podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to rate and review the Mentors and Moguls podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find bonus video episodes at mentorsandmogulspodcast.com or check out our events page and our blog at heatherrstone.com. Until next time, make it a great day.